Olivia held her phone beside the glass as others argued their way toward the jet. They had taken her seat, her voice, and her name from the case. But what happens when the quietest woman has the cleanest proof? The inside. Olivia Grant had checked the spelling of her name 3 times before she left her apartment that morning. Not because she was vain. Not because she expected anyone to make a fuss over her. She checked because names mattered in law. This letter could delay a filing. A missing signature could ruin a motion. A name left off a list could make 6 months of work disappear before anyone even noticed. It was gone. So when she stood at the check-in counter at the Boston airport, one hand around the handle of her carry-on and the other resting against the slim case that held her notes, she was ready. The terminal was already busy. Rolling suitcases clicked over the floor. Business travelers moved quickly with coffee in one hand and phones pressed to their ears. Somewhere above her, a boarding announcement crackled and faded into the noise, to sound. Olivia kept her shoulders straight, the way Daniel had once told her successful attorneys carried themselves, even when they were only waiting in line. She was going to Washington. Few words that had repeated in her mind since before sunrise. Washington, the panel, the presentation, the workers' compensation case that had filled her evenings, stolen her weekends, made her fall asleep more than once, with witness notes spread across her kitchen table. For 6 months, she had listened to people most lawyers hurried past. Retired warehouse employees, drivers with bad knees, women who had been told their pain was just part of getting older. Olivia remembered their names, their pauses, the small details they added, only after someone made them feel safe enough to speak. Daniel had praised that part of her sometimes. "You're good with people," he would say, smoothing a hand over her shoulder as if she were something delicate. "That's your strength." Then he would take the file into the conference room without her. This morning was supposed to be different. "Name?" the airline employee asked, eyes on the screen. "Olivia Grant." She said. The woman typed. Olivia waited. Behind her, the line shifted, impatient but quiet. She could feel the importance of the morning pressing against her ribs, but she did not let it show. The employee frowned. Olivia noticed it immediately. Lawyers noticed pauses. They noticed when someone read the same screen twice. "I'm sorry," the woman said. "Can you spell that?" Olivia did. The employee typed again, slower this time. Her polite airport smile thinned. "Seeing you on the party manifest." Olivia blinked once. "That can't be right. I'm with the legal delegation for the Washington presentation." The woman looked at the screen again, then at Olivia's ID. "The delegation. I just don't see your name listed as an authorized representative." The word name seemed to land harder than all the others. Olivia's fingers tightened around the handle of her bag. Her voice. She did not raise her voice. She did not ask the woman to check again in the sharp tone she had heard from other travelers when things went wrong. She simply pulled out her phone and opened the itinerary Daniel had forwarded 2 nights earlier. There it was. The flight time, the destination, the meeting block. At the bottom saying, the final travel list would be handled by Daniel and Vivian Pottound. A small, careful word. The kind of word people used when they did not want to say changed. "There must be an updated list," Olivia said, keeping her voice even. "Could you tell me who is listed from our office?" The employee hesitated, then glanced past Olivia toward the roped-off area near the private boarding entrance. "You'll need to speak with your group coordinator." Olivia turned. At first, she saw only the movement of people through the glass, a cluster of suits, a rolling garment bag, a security officer standing with a tablet. She saw Daniel. He was standing near the entrance to the private aircraft area. His coat folded over one arm, looking exactly like a man who belonged wherever doors opened quietly for him. Beside him stood Vivian Shaw. Vivian never looked hurried. Even in an airport, even before an important flight, she carried herself like everyone else, had arrived slightly late to a meeting she already controlled. Her bag was neat, her expression cool, and her gaze was fixed not on the aircraft door, but on the employee speaking with her. Olivia took one step away from the counter. Daniel saw her. For a second, something crossed his face. Surprise, not concern. Something smaller and worse. Recognition, followed too quickly by calculation. Olivia walked toward them, her phone still in her hand. "Daniel," she said. He turned fully now, soft professional smile appearing before he answered. "Olivia, I was going to call you." Vivian did not smile. She looked at Olivia as if she had expected this inconvenience and had already decided how long it should last. "Fame isn't on the manifest," Olivia said. Daniel lowered his voice. "There were some last-minute adjustments." "Adjustments?" Vivian stepped in before he could answer. "The panel requested a tighter presenting team. We had to be selective." Olivia looked at her. "I prepared the witness sequence." "And that work is appreciated," Vivian said. "But appreciation and presentation are not the same thing." Few people nearby slowed just enough to hear without admitting they were listening. Olivia felt their attention. Not open staring, not cruelty, the quiet curiosity of strangers witnessing something that should have been private. Daniel moved closer, his voice gentle in the way that used to calm her and now made her skin feel cold. "Liv, this isn't the place." Nickname. Here, in front of Vivian, in front of the airport staff used like a leash. Olivia looked at him. "Did you know?" His eyes flicked to Vivian, then back. "I knew the team had to be streamlined. Isn't what I asked." Vivian turned slightly toward the security officer. "She isn't on the authorized list. We can't delay the departure over an internal staffing issue." Internal staffing issue. The 6 months of interviews became staffing. 6 months of late nights became internal. Olivia's name had vanished, and already they were finding clean words to make the disappearance sound reasonable. The security officer looked uncomfortable but professional. "Mom, if you're not on the manifest, I can't allow you through this point." Olivia nodded once, not because she accepted it, because he was not the person who had erased her. Her phone felt heavy in her hand now. The screen still showed the itinerary, her thumb resting near Daniel's last message from the night before. "See you early. Big day. Big day." Daniel leaned closer, speaking so softly only she could hear. "Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Vivian has the courtroom presence they're expecting. You know how these panels are." For a moment, Thea almost believed the old fear inside her. Maybe she was too young. Maybe she had mistaken usefulness for readiness. Maybe Daniel had only done what a more experienced lawyer would do. Then she saw Vivian's boarding folder, clearly, just enough, a printed label, the case name. Under it, the presenting team. Vivian's name was there. Daniel's name was there. Olivia's was not. A strange calm moved through her then. Not peace, not strength, not yet. The stillness that comes when humiliation becomes too precise to be accidental. She looked from the folder to Daniel's face. He did not look confused. He did not look shocked on her behalf. He looked worried that she had noticed too much. Vivian gave the security officer a short nod, as if closing the matter. "We need to board." Daniel turned with her, then paused, remembering that Olivia was still standing there. "I'll call you after we land," he said. Olivia did not answer. Around them, the airport kept moving. Wheels rolled. Announcements echoed. Travelers passed with places to go, and names that still opened doors. Olivia stood just outside the entrance, her phone in her hand, her bag at her feet. Daniel stepped beside Vivian, as though that had always been his place. Only then did she understand. This was not a mistake in the system. Someone had taken her name off the list. The crowd kept moving around Olivia as if nothing had happened. People passed with coffee cups, laptop bags, boarding passes, and the calm certainty of travelers whose names had not been taken away from them. Olivia stood just outside the boarding area for a moment longer, her phone still in her hand, her carry-on beside her foot. Daniel and Vivian had turned back to the security officer, already speaking in lowered voices. Arranging the world without her in it. She stepped away before either of them could look back. Near the wide glass wall overlooking the tarmac, there was a row of seats half hidden behind a tall planter. Olivia sat down there because her knees needed the chair before her pride would admit it. Beyond the glass, a small aircraft waited with its door open. The morning light made everything look clean and official. It somehow made the shame feel worse. Her phone screen had gone dark. She woke it with her thumb and opened the itinerary again. The same schedule stared back at her. Boston to Washington. Legal delegation. Presentation materials. Final travel list handled by Daniel and Vivian. Olivia read that last line twice and fouled. She opened her email next. Not quickly, not frantically. She had spent enough time with nervous clients to know panic made fingers clumsy. First, she searched the case name. Dozens of emails appeared. Drafts, revisions, witness notes, strategy summaries. Her work was everywhere. Phrasing, her structure, her careful ordering of people whose stories had been messy until someone listened long enough to arrange them without making them smaller. Then she saw the newest file, presentation strategy. Final, yes. It'd been sent late the previous evening, after she had gone to bed with her suitcase packed by the door. Olivia opened it. For a second, she did not understand what she was seeing. First page looked familiar because she had built it. The opening argument was hers. The order of testimony was hers. The short, plain summary of the older worker's claims was hers, written that way, because Marjorie Hill had once told her, "Don't make us sound like paperwork, honey. We're people." Olivia scrolled down, prepared by Vivian Shaw. Her throat tightened so suddenly she had to swallow hard. She kept scrolling. The witness list was there, cleaned up and polished, but still hers. The note about the loading dock supervisor who changed schedules after complaints. Hers. The pattern of delayed medical approvals. Hers. Field. Even the small warning she had added in the margin, the one Daniel had once called too cautious, had been folded into the main strategy as if Vivian had discovered it herself. Olivia's first feeling was not anger, then. It was embarrassment. That was the cruelest part. Before she could even defend herself, some old, quiet part of her wondered whether she had misunderstood her own importance. Maybe associates did the work, and senior lawyers took the credit. Maybe this was how the profession worked. Maybe Daniel had been trying, in his careful way, to protect her from expecting too much, too soon. He looked at the file name again. Final, not shared, not reviewed, not team draft, final. And her name was nowhere. A message notification slid across the top of the screen. It was from Daniel. "Please don't make this personal. We'll talk after, Washington." Olivia stared at the words until they blurred. Personal. That was the door he was already building for her. If she cried, it would be personal. If she objected, it would be personal. If she raised her voice in the middle of an airport after being removed from a case she had helped build, it would be because she was hurt, young, emotional, disappointed in love, because her work had been taken, not because her name had been erased. She closed Daniel's message without answering. For a few minutes, she sat with the phone in both hands, listening to the soft roar of engines beyond the glass. The shame was still there, but something colder had begun to form beneath it. Olivia opened the folder of old case notes saved on her phone. She checked dates, drafts, attachments. Her hands were steadier now. Each file she opened became a small anchor. Each timestamp reminded her that she had not imagined her own labor. Then she saw Marjorie's name. Hill had been one of the first clients Olivia interviewed alone. Older, direct, and not easily impressed, Marjorie had arrived at the office with a folder of medical bills and a face that said she had already been disappointed by people in nicer shoes. Daniel had lasted 15 minutes in that first meeting before checking his watch. Vivian had not attended at all. Olivia remembered staying after, listening, while Marjorie explained what it felt like to be told. Her pain was ordinary when she knew it had a history. Her thumb hovered over the number, down. She hated the thought of calling a client from an airport corner. She hated the thought of sounding desperate. But this was not about proving a point to Daniel. If the case was going to Washington under a false story, people in that file deserved to know who was speaking for them. Olivia pressed call. Marjorie answered on the third ring. "Olivia?" The sound of her voice nearly undid her. "Mrs. Hill, I'm sorry to bother you this early." You start with sorry. Marjorie said. You sound like someone took the floor out from under you. Olivia closed her eyes for a second. I may not be going to Washington with the team. There was a pause. Not empty. What do you mean, may not? My name was removed from the travel list. And the final strategy file. Olivia looked down at the screen again. Vivian's name seemed to glare back at her. It's under Vivian's name now. He was silent long enough that Olivia heard a boarding announcement from across the terminal. Then the older woman said, I knew that man was too smooth. Olivia opened her eyes. Daniel? Mm-hmm. First day I met him, Anna socked. He talked like he was selling curtains. You were the one who listened. The words were simple. They struck harder than comfort would have. Olivia pressed her fingertips to the bridge of her nose. No, what I can prove yet. I have drafts and emails, but I don't want to damage the case. I don't want anyone saying I'm doing this because of Daniel. Is that what he's saying? Not yet, but he will. He let out a small, dry breath. Then you need more than drafts. Olivia sat straighter. What do you mean? I kept a recording from that first meeting, Marjorie said. Not for court, for myself. Father told me to record meetings, so I wouldn't forget what people promised me. Everyone in the room knew I was doing it. I set the phone right on the table. Olivia's pulse changed, Mrs. Hill. And on that recording, he continued, her voice low but clear. Daniel says, you were the one who found the missing link in the schedule changes. He says it plain as day. Then he says, it might be better if your name stayed in the background, until the presentation was easier to sell. The airport noise seemed to fall away. Olivia looked through the glass at the waiting aircraft, at the open door, people moving around it, as if everything was still on track. For the first time that morning, the pain inside her shifted shape. It was still there. The humiliation, the betrayal, and the sting of Daniel standing beside Vivian, while Olivia stood outside the rope. But it no longer filled the whole room inside her. There was space now for something else. Clarity. She was not too young to understand the case, too emotional to know what had happened. She had not mistaken kindness from clients for competence, or hard work for ownership. Someone had tried to make her invisible because visible, she would be harder to use. Do you still have it? Olivia asked. I do, Marjorie said, and if you need me to send it, I will. Olivia looked down at the file on her phone one more time. Vivian's name at the top, her own work underneath it, Daniel's message waiting unanswered. Her hand stopped shaking. Yes, she said quietly. Please send it. The recording arrived in Olivia's inbox as a small audio file, with no dramatic label, no warning, no grand promise attached to it, just a short message from Marjorie. I found it. Listen first, then decide what kind of woman you want to be today. Olivia sat in the same corner of the airport, carry-on tucked beside her chair, her phone balanced on her knee. The aircraft beyond the glass was still waiting, but the world around her had changed. A few minutes earlier, plane had looked like the place where her career was leaving without her. Now it looked like a clock. She did not play the recording out loud. She put one earbud in, lowered her eyes, and listened. His voice came first, older and firmer than Olivia remembered from that first meeting. Then Daniel's voice followed, smooth and patient, explaining how the case needed a clear story. Olivia heard her own name after that, in passing, not as an assistant, as the person who had found the schedule pattern everyone else had missed. Then Daniel said the part Marjorie had warned her about, Olivia should stay in the background for now. File would be easier to present that way. The words did not shout. They did not need to. They sat calmly in her ear and made the truth undeniable. Olivia took the earbud out and looked down at her phone. Her face felt hot, her hands were steady. The old fear was still there, the one that whispered she was too young, too quiet, too easily dismissed. But now it had to stand beside evidence, and evidence was heavier than fear. She opened a new email to Leonard Brooks. For a moment, her thumb hovered above the screen. Leonard was not a sentimental man. He disliked office drama, hated anything that threatened a case, had built the firm on the idea that no claim mattered until it could be supported. Olivia knew that if she wrote like a wounded girlfriend, he would close the email before the second paragraph. So she did not write like one. She attached the final strategy file with Vivian's name on it. Then she attached her earlier drafts, the email chain, the edit history, and the notes she had sent Daniel over the past several months. Marjorie's recording, marked clearly as a meeting recording made with everyone present, aware of it. Her message was short. Her message. She wrote that she had been removed from the Washington travel list. Years. She wrote that substantial work product appeared to have been reassigned without her knowledge. She wrote that she was not asking to stop the case, only to pause the presentation until authorship and client contact history could be verified. She read the email twice. Then she sent it. The seconds after that felt longer than the whole morning. Across the terminal, he could see Daniel and Vivian near the private boarding area. Daniel had his phone in his hand now. Vivian stood slightly apart, still composed, still neat, still carrying herself like the final version of everything. Thea wondered whether Daniel had seen her message yet. She wondered whether he would call. He did. Her phone lit up with his name. Olivia let it ring once, twice, then sent it to voicemail. A text appeared almost immediately. He'd do this. You're upset. There it was. The frame he had been preparing for her. Upset, not omitted, not erased, not copied over. Upset. A second message followed. You're risking the case because you're hurt, and my. Olivia looked at the words and felt something inside her settle. He had not asked what she had found. He had not asked whether she was all right. He had gone straight to the story that made him safest. She did not answer. He had called less than 5 minutes later. Olivia stood before she picked up, as if some old instinct told her to be upright when the truth was being weighed. Olivia, Leonard said. His voice was calm, but not soft. You have your email. Yes, I'm reviewing the attachments now. Before we go further, tell me plainly. Are you asking me to remove Daniel or Vivian from the presentation? No, Olivia said. Asking you to verify who prepared the case materials and who the clients understood they were working with. Before the presentation goes forward, there was a pause. That pause hurt more than a refusal might have because Olivia could hear the firm in it. The rules, the caution, the need for proof strong enough to survive more than emotion. Leonard, she added, keeping her voice low, I don't want the clients harmed. The last thing I want. I believe that, he said. But belief is not enough, I know. Marjorie's recording is helpful, he said. But one client and one recording won't settle the whole matter. Olivia closed her eyes. For half a second, the fear returned. Then Leonard continued. Do you have a list of the clients you personally interviewed? Olivia opened her eyes. Yes, feed. Send it. She sat down again and opened the folder on her phone for glorying. The list was there because she had always kept one, not for glory, but because older clients often forgot which attorney had called them, which document they had sent, which date they had promised to look for. He had made the list to take care of them. Now it was taking care of her. She sent it to Leonard. Marjorie called again before Olivia had lowered the phone. Did you send it? The older woman asked. I did. Good, because I spoke to Helen. Olivia blinked. Helen from the loading dock claim? That's right. And to Mr. Ruiz. And to the woman whose husband drove nights for that warehouse. Told them. Someone might be asking who sat with them and who didn't. Olivia pressed her lips together. The airport blurred for a moment. Not from tears exactly, but from the sudden warmth of being remembered. Mrs. Hill, have to. Yes, I did, Marjorie said. You listened when no one else wanted the long version. Don't tell me that doesn't count. Olivia could not speak right away. For months, he had thought of those interviews as work no one would seize. Quiet work, patient work, the kind that disappeared into binders and summaries and someone else's confident voice. But to the people who had told the stories, disappeared. Leonard called back while Marjorie was still on the line. Olivia switched calls, her heart beating harder now. I've spoken to 3 clients, Leonard said. He gave me 2 more names before I reached out. Olivia looked toward the boarding area. Daniel was staring down at his phone. Vivian's face had changed just enough to show she was no longer merely waiting to board. Continued. They all identified you as their primary contact on the substance of their statements. Olivia breathed in slowly. They did, he said. And their descriptions match your notes. Phase of the airport came back around her, but it sounded farther away now. Less like judgment. More like weather. What happens now? Olivia asked. Now, Leonard said, we slow this down. Before the firm embarrasses itself, and before the clients are represented by a story that isn't clean. On the other side of the glass, a ground crew member moved toward the aircraft steps. Time was narrowing. Voice sharpened. I'm calling Daniel and Vivian into a meeting before that presentation proceeds. You stay available. Do not argue with either of them. Do not explain yourself in the terminal. Let the file speak first, Fusabod. Olivia looked at Daniel as his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and the confidence in his shoulders slipped. Vivian turned toward him, asking something Olivia could not hear. Daniel did not answer her at first. He looked across the terminal and found Olivia sitting by the glass with her phone in her hand. For once, she did not look away. Leonard's final words came through the line, steady and cold. I have enough to open the meeting, isn't? A sound. Daniel answered Leonard's call with the confidence of a man who still believed he could explain his way out of anything. Olivia watched from the airport window as he turned slightly away from Vivian, one hand pressed to his ear, his shoulders still trying to hold their polished shape. Vivian stood beside him, her face calm at first, but Olivia saw the change the moment Daniel stopped speaking and started listening. It was when Olivia knew Leonard had not called to ask for opinions. He had called to open the file. Join the meeting now, Leonard told Olivia through her phone. Video if you can, audio if you must. Stay factual, understand, she said. She found a quieter place near the end of the seating area and opened the meeting link Leonard sent. The screen filled first with his face, stern and tired, the kind of tired that came from realizing a problem had been allowed to grow in plain sight. Then Daniel appeared. Then Vivian. Daniel tried to smile. Vivian did not. Leonard did not waste time. He reviewed the travel change, the final strategy file, the prior drafts, the edit history, and the client confirmations received this morning. Daniel leaned forward. But broed, Leonard, before this gets out of hand, Olivia is upset. This is a personal situation between us. And I think... No, Leonard said the word was not loud, but it stopped him. Olivia sat still. Her phone then rested on the small table in front of her. The same phone that had shown her name, missing from one list after another, now held the meeting, where those lists would be read back into order. Leonard looked down at something off-screen. This is not a personal situation. This is a question of case integrity, client representation, and internal authorship. Vivian folded her hands. The strategy file was a team product. Then we will discuss the team, Leonard said. Olivia conducted the first substantive interviews with Marjorie and multiple other clients. Olivia identified the schedule pattern. Olivia drafted the witness sequence, now included in the final presentation. Olivia's earlier drafts matched the structure and language of the document submitted under your name. Vivian's face did not break, but something in her eyes tightened. Daniel tried again. She contributed. Yes, he is denying that. Olivia looked at him then. For weeks, months, she had accepted little words like that. Contributed, assisted, helped words small enough to keep her useful and invisible at the same time. Leonard turned to Daniel. The recording from Marjorie's first meeting includes your own statement that Olivia found the key connection in the case. Daniel's jaw shifted. That recording was informal. It was made openly during a client meeting and is being used here for internal review, Leonard said. More importantly, it is consistent with the written record. There it was. The thing Daniel could not soften. Consistent. Emotional. Not jealous. Not wounded. Consistent. Vivian looked toward Daniel, not with loyalty now, but with calculation. Daniel handled the presentation team, she said. I was given the final file. Daniel's eyes snapped toward her. The room, even through a phone screen, went colder. Leonard watched both of them for one long second. And yet your name appears as preparer on work that came through Olivia's drafts. Vivian said nothing. Olivia did not feel triumphant. That surprised her. She had imagined, in some small corner of herself, that being proven right would feel like relief all at once. It did not. It felt heavy. Felt like watching a bridge burn that she had once hoped to cross safely. Leonard continued, "The Washington presentation will proceed under supervision. Daniel, you are suspended from the case pending internal review. Vivian, you are removed as named lead on the strategy materials until the authorship record is corrected." Daniel's face drained. "You can't suspend me on the morning of a presentation." "I can," Leonard said. "And I have." Vivian sat back. Her expression stayed professional, but it no longer had power behind it. Leonard turned to Olivia. "Olivia, urinal. You will remain attached to the case materials as the associate of record for the client interviews and witness structure. I will supervise the presentation personally. Nothing moves forward without the corrected record." For a moment, Olivia could not answer. Her name had been removed so quietly. Now it was being returned with the same quietness. No applause, no speech. In the firm of a sentence spoken by someone with the authority to make the record honest again. "Thank you," she said. Daniel stared at her through the screen. "Liv, you know this isn't what I meant to happen." He had heard that tone before. Soft, wounded, almost tender. The tone that asked her to comfort him after he hurt her. This time she did not move toward it. "I know what happened," she said. "That's enough." Beating ended soon after. Leonard stayed on the line only long enough to give her the next steps. "Send the original files again. Remain available for questions. Do not contact Daniel or Vivian about the review. Deal." Olivia wrote each instruction down because that was what she did when something mattered. Outside the window, the aircraft was still there. Now, Daniel and Vivian were not boarding it with her work in their hands, as if she had never existed. The case went to Washington, without the lie leading it. The presentation was delayed, then corrected. Leonard supervised it himself, using the materials in their proper order and naming the client interview work accurately. The clients were not punished for the firm's failure. Their claims moved forward. Marjorie's voices of the others, stayed at the center where they belonged. In the weeks that followed, Daniel remained under review and lost control of the case that was supposed to raise him higher. Vivian's name came off the strategy file. The final version carried a corrected record of who had done what, and for the first time, Olivia saw her name attached, not as a courtesy, but as fact. The settlement came later, quietly, cameras or speeches. Marjorie called Olivia the afternoon it was done. "They heard us," the older woman said. Olivia sat at her desk with the signed papers in front of her. "Yes," she said. "They did." "No, honey," he replied. "You heard us first." That was the sentence Olivia carried with her when she packed her office. She did not leave the firm in anger. Anger had burned hot that morning at the airport, but it was not strong enough to build a future on. She left because something in her had finally become clear. She did not want to spend her life asking for a seat at tables where people could erase her name whenever it suited them. A few months later, Olivia opened a small legal support office for workers who needed help understanding their claims before they were too tired to fight for them. It was not grand. The furniture did not match. Printer jammed twice the first week. The sign on the door was simple, and she had chosen every word carefully. Olivia Grant Legal Advocacy. On the first morning, he came by with a folder under one arm and 2 names written on a piece of paper. "Friends of mine," she said. "They need someone who listens." Olivia took the paper and looked at the names. This time, no one had to add hers back.